Hello, welcome back to the Cricket Nerds. Me and Benji are back, and we are talking about the T20 World Cup. Broad strokes, we're just going to talk about who's impressed, who hasn't. One particular upset that I think is on most people's lips, which is USA versus Pakistan. USA having comprehensively beaten Pakistan in the super over. But yeah, overall, I would say this hasn't been a batter's paradise of a World Cup so far.
No.
It has been quite a lot of low and slow games, low and slow pitches, which is, to a certain extent what you kind of expect from, a load of new pitches in the US, and then the West Indies in general can be quite low. But I'm enjoying it personally. I'm thinking this is a really good World Cup, and I think one of the main reasons for that is the fact that any team could win. The T20 format lends itself to upsets because it is condensed, and so sort of higher variance teams might lose more, and might get upset more. And Pakistan are a high variance team. Scotland, it seems, are a high variance team. So they're probably the two teams that I want to talk about the most. But where do you want to start? I'm a bit all over the
Where
shop.
do I want to start? You have literally covered all of it. Let's talk about the USA. We may as well. USA have come out of the gates, and James, I don't know about you, but are the USA actually good at cricket? Is that something that they're actually good at, or is it like, um, a case of they've just not had the best um opponents? Because I mean they put a showdown on Canada. It was sort of a very comprehensive chase, I think, with Aaron Aaron Johnson looking good, but
Aaron
then
Jones.
Aaron Jones looking good. Yeah, sorry. Aaron Johnson plays for Canada, tale of two Aarons. And coming out and scoring well. Yeah, it was. And then the upset against Pakistan. I think they bowled really well against Pakistan, and they also managed to work the chase really well. Again, Aaron Jones played a phenomenal knock to really guide that team, basically.
Yeah, and Pakistan, they looked all over the shop. They
Yeah.
were their fielding was as bad as you kind of expect from Pakistan side. Bowling looked really out of sorts, and I think the US actually fumbled it in the chase. I thought they did a pretty poor job because they were off to an absolute flyer. They were looking really strong, only needed like 50 or 45 or something like that. And then they send in Nitish Kumar instead of the experienced Corey Anderson. And I think that was a mistake. Nitish Kumar, he ate up so many deliveries.
Yeah.
He looked like he just couldn't hit the ball. And that's where I think US nearly choked. But then it came to the super over, and Pakistan probably choked even more. It was almost hard to watch when Mohammad Amir was bowling, and he bowled so well in the normal play, the normal innings, the first 20 overs, and then he just bowled a lot of wides, and again it was just poor fielding that really let Pakistan down. And the United States batsmen were able to sort of run bys on the wides, and that obviously made it a lot more significant. But I'd say USA, obviously, cricket isn't their first sport. It's not even in their top 20 sports, I don't think. But they've got a lot of people there, and sort of by law of averages, they will have 11 very good cricketers in amongst their 300 million or however big the population is. So it stands to reason that they should have a good squad. Also, America and Canada, first ever international fix during cricket. So there's there's history there. It's just it's increasing that interest, and I think this can only be good for the game. You know, getting
Oh,
a bigger World Cup,
yeah.
more competitive sides. The one kind of talking point at the moment is the times the games are being played at, because obviously it's not great times for the actual population that live there. It's all like really early or really late. Where and that's great for broadcasting for people in India or the UK, but not so great for the average American who
Yeah.
maybe would, you know, want to go and watch a game in Dallas, and they realize it's actually like super late. So yeah, it's interesting.
It is. It is. I think it's interesting what you said about the Pakistan team as well. Looking because yeah, if we're talking about what teams look strong, what teams don't look strong, I think if we're looking at Group A, we would have assumed that India, Pakistan would have walked that group through to the Super Eights. Pakistan have now got a hard road if they want to qualify with that loss. I think USA have put themselves in a really good position. I know they've still got two games to play, um, and with it's cricket, anything can happen. But I mean, for me, yeah, Pakistan, we have only seen them play once, but we also had the T20 series against England. Isn't it about time that Azam Khan has just dropped? Like, isn't he's just a waste of a cricketer? Like, he's not scoring runs, which is it he's in there for. He's a terrible wicket keeper because he can't stop the ball or dive. Like, just drop Azam Khan, give Mohammad Rizwan the gloves, and then play an extra player like Imad Wasim, who is good with bat and ball, would be my way of doing things. I don't know, maybe I'm being really harsh. Um, I think he's had his chance though.
Yeah, I think Azam Khan's a really interesting example because obviously the guy isn't in great shape. So, you know, in terms of fielding, you can only really field him in a few positions. Um, he is a very explosive and destructive batter when he's in form. He's
Yeah.
just not in form at the moment. And it does pose some interesting questions because obviously there's always the shadow of nepotism that's over his head as well. So it does really it does raise a lot of questions for Pakistan. Chief among them being how are they actually assembling their team? Because it's not always a case of just get your 11 best cricketers on the field and hope they do well. A lot of the time you need to think about how you're building that team because, you know, while the 11 best cricketers in England might have Joe Root and David Malan in, for example, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's who you play in the T20 squad because they're both anchors. In the same way, Azam Khan, he might do really well if he has a certain player that's coming in before, or if he's at a certain area, if he's coming in a certain position, that he can play with them really well. But as it stands, he seems like a bit of a duck out of water. So it is kind of hard to watch him at the moment. Um, yeah, but overall, that was brilliant. I'm so excited to see more upsets, more sort of narratives coming out. Scotland looking pretty strong. Could have rolled England if the rain hadn't come.
I mean, they
At the
played
same time,
fantastically today
they,
against
they looked,
Namibia.
yeah,
That
Namibia, yeah.
yeah, I mean, Namibia also have looked quite good. And then Scotland today really put a convincing win against Namibia. I think for the likes of Oman, Uganda, Afghanistan, Papua New Guinea, I think it's good to see them in the World Cup. Predictably, Uganda got absolutely trounced by Afghanistan. Papua New Guinea as well. They put up a decent fight against the West Indies, but then were also beaten by Uganda. So it's just good to see these teams there. At one point, I was really hopeful for a man Australia upset. When I think Australia lost a few early wickets, a man looked really good, but then Marcus Stoinis came and that's the class that you see with these bigger teams. You know, they have that star power, that ability to really change a game. It's going to be interesting in the next couple of days. I think tomorrow, is it? 17th match, England. There's a bunch of games tomorrow. I think there's about 4 different games. You've got Afghanistan and New Zealand playing, which would be a great game. You've got Bangladesh versus Sri Lanka, which is a nice little Asia Cup game. Netherlands versus South Africa, where
Ooh, that's
Netherlands
always a fun one.
always seem to upset South Africa. And then the grudge match, England versus Australia in Bridgetown. Um, it'll be interesting because that's really going to define Group B. Sorry, no, Group C, the England Australia game.
That is Group B.
Yeah, sorry, yeah, Group B, yeah, the England Australia game where there's Namibia and a man who look like they're struggling, but with Scotland and the way that Scotland are playing, who knows?
Yeah.
It's just such an exciting World Cup, and yeah, it's going to be exciting to follow. Any more thoughts from you, James, before we crack on?
My only thought is, if you haven't subscribed already, please do subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for the continued support. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Goodbye.